Hello everyone and welcome to our first webinar of the Russia Startup and Venture Series, Behind the Scene and Inside the Market webinar. My name is Lars Flottrong, I'm partner of Schneider Group.
Greetings to all participants. My name is Sergey Kanserov. I'm co-founder and CEO of Dsight. Of course, we very warmly welcome our prominent speakers. Denis Levchenko, head of scouting X5 Retail Group, the largest Eastern European retail chain with more than 17,000 stores. Vitaly Mzokov, head of Kaspersky Innovation Hub. Of course, you all know the Kaspersky, the leader in global cybersecurity. And Kendrick White, founder and CEO of Marchmont Capital Partners, one of key players in deep tech innovation consulting in Russia.
Good. Thank you, Sergey. And also from my side, special thanks to our great speakers for taking their time to share their expertise with us. Also, a warm welcome to our background moderator, Julia. Julia will care about the chat room and address all the questions to the speakers. Therefore, please put all your questions into the chat and they will be definitely answered. Also, the presentations given today will be after our event sent to all registered participants or also may be available at our websites. Sergey, let me ask you a few questions. You are the leading researcher of Dsight and the Russian venture capital market. Just last week, you published the first half report, Venture Capital Russia, which, by the way, can be also downloaded free of charge from your website. So, what are the major news and developments in Russia?
Thank you, Lars. Great question. I would name a few trends, news, and figures for our audience to understand a little bit better the Russian venture market. Well, during the first half of this year, we see what is interesting that VC angels, they doubled the number of deals comparing to the previous year. That indicates that angel clubs and angel investor associations are blooming. Deals with B2B startups increased 1.5 times. So B2B startups are in bigger demand now. The ecosystems continue to develop in Russia. Such large corporations as Tinkoff, the largest online bank, MTS, the largest telecom, and not only telecom provider now, they already media, entertainment company, and cloud services company. Many of our participants know Mail.ru, the largest, well, it started as a search engine, now it's a very diversified internet company in Russia, as well as Yandex, which is also one of the largest internet companies. Sberbank, which is not bank anymore, it's also IT company, and also Sever Group. Some of participants might know the Severstal, one of the largest metal producer, and Sever Group is their holding company. Well, and actually the government is offering more and more support to startups. It's very important to note two new laws, two new legislative regulations. The first one is the convertible note law, which is going to pass this year. It is the common practice in many foreign countries, but Russia only now introduces the convertible note law, so startups have easier access to capital by this mechanism. Another important law will be let's call it right for risk or right for loss, because still many investments in startups made by state-financed funds or the funds where government is limited partner, and it allows the managers to it allows it the right for loss, because we all know that venture investments are high risk, and the general statistics as 8 or 9 startups out of 10 do not survive until the next financing round, and this allows not to those managers not to be persecuted because they spend government money for high risk investments. Another interesting fact is Russian venture company receiving 1 billion rubles in another financing round, and they're quite active investor. They created many many funds with non-government limited partners, and a new fund under Russian Direct Investment Fund Management is going to be launched. This one, the Russian Direct Investment Fund, is quite well known abroad because they do common investment funds with Chinese and some Western investors. Well, if we speak about the important news, it's the sale, definitely sale of VMsoft. The VMsoft is the world leader of cloud backups, and it has its origins in Russia, and it's been sold for $5 billion United States dollars, and their revenues for the past year was $1 billion. Well, Yandex and Sberbank are divorcing. The Yandex get to keep Yandex Market, and Sberbank has to keep Yandex money, which is quite logical, I think. But it was the promising ally, promising thing between two giants, but it didn't work out in the end. And also the very recent news, Yandex, the large internet company in Russia, is announced that they're going to buy Tinkoff, the largest online bank, and some claim that it's the largest online bank in the world. Its shares traded on London Stock Exchange, and the preliminary valuation, the deal amount will be $5.5 billion. And the Tinkoff is very, let's say, profitable company. They grow 10s or 20% each year. They have net profit margin more than 15 or 20%. It's very good asset. Well, and let me finish with key figures maybe for the market. Well, financing rounds unfortunately dropped, but not so big drop, by 6% comparing to first half of the previous year. Financing round amount decreased by 63% from 500 million to 180 million dollars. By financing rounds, I mean the investments in startups. Well, an average investment round of or check dropped by 60%. Investors became more cautious.
Good. Okay, interesting facts and figures. But compared with international markets, the performance in Russia is rather average. What is the reason for this?
Average indeed. For example, the previous period under our research, the full year 2019, was a record year, both in terms of financing rounds and exits. Well, for this year, for the first half of this year, I suspect a few factors. Well, it's less large amount deals comparing to the first half of the previous year. The COVID impact on deals pipeline. We expect many deals, they got postponed due to the isolation and not being available to move the deals pipeline forward by the investment funds. More deals in early stages with smaller checks. This is actually quite a good thing because more early stage deals, the more funnel, the more pipeline we have for later rounds. And valuations, unfortunately, have dropped due to COVID, and it basically impacted the round amounts.
Good. I also got some statistics from 2019 comparing Russia and Israel.
Okay.
Russia, 144 million citizens, Israel, 8.9 million. But in Russia, last year, we had 12,000 operating startups. In Israel, we had 15,000. Russia had an overall of 870 million investments into startups. Israel had a 6.5 billion.
Yes.
Russia had 38 exits with an average or with an amount of 5.6 billion, whereas Israel had 80 exits with almost 10 billion in a total amount. Does it all mean that the Russian startup market is underdeveloped?
Yes, I could agree with that. I think it could be explained by a few reasons. Well, still Russia has not so many strategic buyers. Couple of minutes ago, I named a few large corporations who build ecosystems, and basically the number of corporations who do M&A is between 10 or 15 large companies. But on the other hand, Russian startups became during the recent 1 or 2 years, they became to be more active globally. They start to attract investments from international funds. They enter the foreign markets with their services and products. So eventually, I think we'll get more exits even abroad of Russia. Well, of course, it's obvious for everyone. The Crimea events in 2014, they harshly impacted the business climate, but international investors are returning now. And volatile but cheap ruble, the national currency, which is actually benefits foreign investors for investors and corporations, which are looking for cost-effective tech solutions and engineers. And of course, Russian tech and VC market has a huge potential for growth. But we'll speak about growth drivers a little bit later. Interesting fact, actually, now it's a great opportunity time. The top Russian and investment bank, where my partner and co-founder of Dsight, Arseniy Dabak, where he's a partner. During the last 2 or 3 months, they're receiving many buy-side requests for Russian tech companies, IT and tech companies, and so we personally, from first hand, we know that international investors and the Russian corporations, they're returning after the Crimea. Now it's time to use those opportunities, which Russia still has a huge potential for growth. So yeah, I think those are the main reasons.
Okay, thank you, Sergey, for these facts and background information. Indeed, we see a huge potential in the Russian startup market, but now it's time to listen to our speakers and to learn how they approach Russian startups and create great success stories. Denise, Head of Scouting, X5 Retail Group, the largest Eastern European chain. Yeah, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, Lars. Can you hear me and can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to be here today with you. Today, I would like to say some words about X5 and about our strategy for working with innovations and with startups. Firstly, let me say a couple of words about X5. Actually, Sergey told already a couple of words. So X5 is the largest grocery retailer in Russia, and actually it is the largest retailer in general. We are already 20 years on the market, and we operate more than 17,000 stores all over Russian Federation. And they are presented in 3 different formats. Proximity stores operates under the brand of Peterochka, supermarkets, which operates under the brand of Perikiosk, and hypermarkets, which operate under the brand of Carousel. The revenue last year was 1.7 billion rubles, and we employ more than 300,000 employees and serve 14 million customers daily. So it is quite a big company, big organization. And actually, 3 years ago, we start realizing that things are changing and the environment, the market environment is changing. So we start to think about innovations mainly by 2 reasons. The first reason is that the competition was growing very fast. And that competition was not only among the traditional players, traditional retailers. We thought about the worldwide experience and see that Amazon tries to put a bet on the grocery market in US, and the same for Alibaba in China. And at that time, we thought that sooner or later we can see such kind of digital players on the grocery market in Russia. So at that time, nobody knows who will be the players, but now we can see that some digital players are already on the market, and we can see such companies like Sberbank, sorry, just Sber, Yandex, Mail.ru, Ozon, etc., etc. So what we realized that this kind of competition is quite different to the old that we used to. So such companies are much more faster, they are more flexible, and they can make fast decisions and make more innovations than traditional players. That's why that was the first reason to change. And the second one is that the technologies were developing very fast. And this influenced how the customer behave in stores, and not only in stores when they buy products, when they have a rest, etc., etc. So we understood that we have to be in time to bring the customer experience that our customers today and tomorrow expect from our company, and even if they do not understand particularly what they want. So that was 2 reasons why we decided to launch innovation processes at X5, and we started to think about how to do this. So on the one hand side, you can do it by your own internally, try to develop new technologies, new solutions, test them, etc., etc. But afterwards, we realized that usually innovations, good innovations, go from the understanding of the pains of your customers. And the problem of big corporations is that decisions are usually made based on the surveys, so which are statistically meaningful, but you cannot feel the market. You cannot seize the details of what your customer needs sometimes. That's why we understood that open innovation approach is the best way and the fastest way to start innovation process at X5. And so innovations usually is small victories. So you have to put small bets in order to get the results. And more bets you put, more outcome from this process you will get. And you cannot test a lot of things just utilizing the internal resources. You have to widen your funnel to bring in new solutions and new technologies and new ideas which startups can present to you. So that's why we started our open innovation approach, and we started to scout startups in Russia mainly. Here you can see the funnel, so how it works. On the first stage, we are looking for interesting solutions and try to understand if these technologies and solutions are applicable to our core business processes. If we understand that yes, and if there is technology behind the startup, we try to understand the business model. We try to understand how this particular technology will influence such particular business process and what kind of business value can we get out of that. So we discuss it with our business units, with marketing, operations, logistics, HR, etc. And we try to put the business hypothesis. So when it is in place, we launch the pilot, and the main result for the pilot is to test the business hypothesis that we put at the beginning. So if it is successful, we pass the project to the rollout phase. And actually, this is a stage when the startup and the technology brings the real value to the business. So our main target is to provide the contribution to the P&L of the company. So we would like to reduce the cost of the main operation processes, first of all, and secondly, we would like to increase the revenue by bringing new customer experience to our customers. So if you can see, for example, on the right here, you can see the funnel by years, and you can see the trend that in order to bring the value to the business at the end, when you implement the technology, you have to have more pressure at the beginning of the funnel. So just an example, in 2017, we had just 200 startups at the beginning of the funnel, and we did 4 implementations out of that. This year, just for the first 6 months, for the first half of the year, we already have more than 800 startups and just 7 implementations. So you need more pressure in order to bring the results, because you are already quite well performed. You know a lot, you did a lot, and you need more startups at the beginning to bring new value to the business. So on the other hand side, you can see that the conversion grows from pilot to rollout from year to year, and this is because your process becomes more efficient, and you know how to push the startups from the pilot stage to the rollout stage and further. And as Lars said at the beginning, we also felt that the Russian startup ecosystem is a little bit underdeveloped. So we did not have a lot of pressure at the beginning of the funnel. That's why we decided to go abroad to look for new startups and for new technologies. Firstly, we went to CIS and Baltic countries because they're quite close. The people speak Russian, and so there is no language barriers. Sometimes it is more easy for business units to speak and to communicate in Russia and to make deals with Russian companies. Afterwards, we moved to Israel. Lars also to tell a lot of information about Israel. This is a real startup nation and nothing to add. And so far, many people in Israel can talk Russian. So actually, at least half of population can speak Russian, and Israel is a very good location for us to look for new technologies. Also, it is enriched by a large amount of venture capital, and Israel startups are very business oriented, and we like it very much, because actually you cannot just bring the idea. You can get from them the business case that they already did with other retailers, with other industries and companies. Our next focus is European startups. The European startup ecosystem is very much developed. So actually it is number 2 by the Global Startup Ecosystem Report ranking. And the Russian market is still very interesting for European startups because, well, the market are quite close. The Russian market is quite big and a bit underdeveloped. That's why for Russian corporations, European startups have a good interest. So this is a priority number one for X5. We also have the priority number two. We're constantly looking for solutions also in China and US and Singapore. We have regular scouting programs in these countries, but we understand that, for example, Chinese and US startups are quite closed in their local markets, because their local markets are very big and they don't have a lot of reasons to go to foreign markets, especially to the Russian markets. It is quite far away. It's not the largest in the world, but nevertheless, we just touch the ground every couple of months in order to understand what kind of trends exist in the world, on the market, because usually in US and China, you can find very good solutions in terms of customer experience, in terms of logistics, etc. So when we're talking, so where does X5 innovate? So why innovate? So you just trade tomatoes and milk. So what is the focus of your scouting activities? So I can answer this question with this slide. The first priority for us is the customer experience. Why the customer experience? Because we have the largest multiplicator in this area, because the revenue of the company is 1.7 billion rubles. And if you find the solution which improve your customer experience and which increase your sales by 0.5%, you will earn billions of rubles in addition, because the multiplicator is the largest one. The second priority is the retail chain itself. As I told, we operate more than 17,000 stores, and this is a physical infrastructure. And you have electricity costs, labor costs, operations efficiency costs, etc., etc. So we are working on the efficiency of the processes and try to reduce the cost in order to increase the margin of the retail chain, and then to invest it into the price of the products. The third focus is the supply chain. We operate our own logistics infrastructure, which consists of 5,000 trucks and 42 distribution centers. And as you can imagine, the cost for logistics infrastructure is quite big, and our target is to decrease the cost and improve the efficiency in logistics as well. The fourth priority is back office. We try to reduce the cost once again and improve the SLA which back office provide to the front office. And of course, online is growing these days in Russia as well. The number of orders was growing 4 times compared to January, for example. If, well, at the end of last year, we delivered 6,000 orders per day. Now we have 25,000 orders per day. So you can imagine such growth requires the efficiency in your online channels as well. And last but not least, I would like to tell you about our new approach, which we launched at the beginning of this year. Actually, we started to think that we are not the only one company who manages innovation development, and we decided to join the efforts of different retail leaders in the country and try to do it together. So we created Alliance, Retail Innovation Tech Alliance, which is called RITA. We include in this alliance MVideo, Beeline, Hove, and X5. And now we are doing the joint scouting, which is quite expensive in terms of worldwide scouting. And this is the first reason we can share the cost. The second reason is that we present the more buying power to startups, and we become more attractive. So actually, the good startup is what you have to bid for. So the startup can choose where to go, to one retail, to another retail. He can go to the bank because the technology platform is quite similar, and you have to fight for good startup, for good technology, and we try to present the most attractive place where the retail startup can come if he would like to start business on the Russian market. And we think that collaborative innovations is the next generation of corporate innovations in Russia and not in Russia. So actually, that's it from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I think I'm in time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Denise, for these exciting insights of X5. Julia, do we have questions for this? No. Then, Denise, let me ask you one thing. Now, you just, in your presentation, you said last year you had 64 pilots and 10 rollouts, what gives us a ratio of 6.4. This year, you had already 18 pilots and 7 rollouts, what gives us a ratio of 2.6. In fact, means there's a performance increase of 3 times. Is this because of the alliance, or you become more and more expertise and better in scouting? What is the reason for this great performance?
Well, Lars, I think both. Sure, we become more expertise and we have more experience how to proceed innovation projects inside big organization, because it is not really easy. And the business units are not always like to have some new projects and new technologies, because they don't really often understand what is it and how they can use it. But from year to year, we increase the efficiency and conversion from pilot to rollout. And the second one that you said is really very important. I mean, the collaborative innovations and RITA in general. Because when you create the collaborative innovation alliance, you can share not between each other, not technologies, not ideas, but you can share the use cases and business cases. So if one company implemented some good technology into their business processes, and they already get the business value out of that, you just can't get it. And this is actually between second and third step of the funnel. So you don't do the job just from the scratch. You have you just get the working idea and try to implement into your process. And this saves you time, and this increases your conversion to the business result.
So very, very wise and promising approach. So you also mentioned that due to the underdeveloped Russian market, you are scouting abroad, Israel, Europe, everywhere in the world. And what is your expectation for the upcoming years of the Russian market? Will there be a boom, a grow? Will you scout more inside Russia, or just look further all around everywhere in the world for prospective startups? What is your personal view of the company?
Well, I think that Sergey already told some factors which probably will not allow the Russian startup ecosystem develop very fast. And this is demand for the corporations. This is the volume of the venture capital and the business attractiveness of the country. That means that in the nearest future, I think we will not see a lot of new good startups. And that's why we are mainly now focused on Israel and European market, but we also touch the ground in Russia. And actually in RITA, for example, we have 5 scouting programs per year. And we have 2 scouting programs in Russia. So we just can see the Russian market on a permanent manner. We have 2 scouting programs in Europe and 1 in Israel. So that means that the Russian market still remains very important for us.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Denise, there is one question for you. From what moment the work with the startups began to cover all expenses, or open innovation still in investments for X5?
Okay, I would say that from the second year of the development.
Good. Good. Thank you. I think it's a great result, and you're giving a great example to all other retail companies in Russia and in the world. And X5 is one of the beginners who began to work with open innovations, and they already have they already moved very much ahead of many competitors.
Thank you for that.
Denise. Okay, thank you. If anyone will have further questions to Denise, please leave them in the chat and we touch them in Q&A session, I think. And the next speaker is Vitaly Mzokov, head of Kaspersky Innovation Hub. Vitaly is a very active corporate innovator, and we are very pleased that Dsight is working with Kaspersky for more than 1 year now. Vitaly, and we are very interested to learn from the best. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sergey. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. I also thanks a lot for the organizers for this event, and I also enjoyed actually for more than 2 years collaboration on the Dsight. Actually, really
yes,
pleasant experience from my side, and I see that there is even a bigger potential to expand the collaboration with the companies working and operating in Russia, like in a partnership with Dsight and the Schneider Group now. So I really appreciate invitation to this particular event. I have just a few slides. So as Sergey introduced myself, I'm Vitaly Mzokov, head of the Innovation Hub at Kaspersky. The company itself, I think, probably one of the quite popular, especially in the cybersecurity world. We are the biggest privately owned cybersecurity company. Needless to say that Eugene Kaspersky is actively actually involved in the operations of the company that is named after his last name. So speaking about Kaspersky in general, before I explain why we do innovations, I would actually probably would love to cover some provide some information about the company itself. So we are operating for more than 22 years in the market for the cybersecurity. That involves lots of the countries covered by our operations. So we are heavily doing business not only in Russia, but also in Europe, in Latin America, in North America, in Africa, Middle East, lots of the business in the Asia Pacific. So we are truly a worldwide company with a huge army of the cybersecurity experts. On my slide, you see that we have more than 4,500 of employees. And actually, I would like to say that I'm happy to say that more than 1/3 of the company are R&D experts and the cybersecurity experts. So we are truly technologically driven company. The technologies by Kaspersky are used by more than 400 million customers worldwide, and we have hundreds of thousands corporate customers in our partnership ecosystem. But actually, referring back to the previous presentation by Dennis, I'm happy that all corporates, when they start presentation about their innovation management activities, they usually say and explain why they do these innovations in general. After all, why we as Kaspersky do the innovations is not because we're afraid of the competition, but because we see as the truly one of the leading companies in our market. We see that there are lots of the companies working in the same field where we operate as Kaspersky. We see that the threat landscape is changing so much rapidly. So the demands by our customers are also changing very fast. Means we actually we do see great opportunity by opening the doors for the different innovation programs, the opportunity to enrich our business and partner with the companies like startups to drive further what we do to make this world cyber safe. Actually, our story of working with innovations started back in 2015, where we established not only the team of the management that was responsible to support the innovators, but also we built the infrastructure. If you ever guys visit Moscow, you definitely should come to our office. First building, floor number 4, you will see this innovation center, innovation hub, co-working space where all these innovators sit all together, work with the experts of Kaspersky, and actually they do all this creative stuff. And we support them. This is very, very important. And actually from the day 0 of the Innovation Hub establishment, we've been set up as the bridge between the multiple business units in the company and the outer innovation world, I would say. So we've been actually setting up like a technological radars with our business units, like analyst relationships with BI teams to identify new potential promising markets for Kaspersky, identify some technological trends, so then transform this into the scouting procedures and scouting activities to seek for innovative startups. One of the goals for sure for all the innovation management processes is to increase revenues. But I would like to emphasize the fact that as a company, we never put profitability as a very important goal for, I would say, as a very important result of all the innovation management stuff, because we do see that, and we do believe that all the results are kind of mid and long term. And this actually, honestly speaking, significantly simplifies the daily operations of the Innovation Hub, all my team, myself, and I'm really happy that during the last few years we built very, very, I would say, supportive background and basis for the innovators and the startups. We actually also, I would say it's important to mention that as a company, we also established multiple projects ourselves. So when we invited innovators to develop their projects together with Kaspersky, that resulted in some projects that few of them mentioned on my slide, and they are already bringing multi-million revenue for the company. And right now, actually, the majority of this revenue happens in Russia, but these projects have all the opportunities to scale beyond Russia. And the Innovation Hub does everything to support these innovators to take their projects to the worldwide markets. This is important, that this is actually, I cannot say quite simple, but the fact that these innovators work with Kaspersky, and considering how big the corporate infrastructure of the Kaspersky as the enterprise, this is a good channel for the innovators to actually increase the revenues, become part of the sales offer for our customers, consumer, SMB, enterprise companies. So we truly like a big channel to success for these innovative projects. We actually saw that not only innovators can help us to drive all the innovative and all the innovations further. Since 2019, we ran the Open Innovation Program, where we also scouted for innovative startups to collaborate with the company. And actually, for almost 1 year, we already did 4 open innovation startup calls, where we actually invited startups to join Kaspersky, but we did in a slightly different manner than other enterprises do usually, or how other accelerators, for example, do. So we never said that we will give you some money as an investment. We say, we don't give you money, but we allow you to actually build the revenues together with us. As I mentioned before, we are partnering with the startups from the places all around the world. You see some statistics on that slide that startups from Africa, even North America and South America. For sure, lots of them, the majority of them were from Russia, but all of them, despite the fact that we are not offering money in form of investment, they do value and they do appreciate the opportunity to increase the revenue, since they are offered the opportunity to join our ecosystem, and so they be able to sell their products together with Kaspersky. And I think this is very important the difference on our vision how the Open Innovation Program should be ran. We do see again that the startups really value this type of offer from the corporates, because they not even get the business or technological support, because for sure we can actually look at the technologies of the startup. We can say this was done good, this was done not so good, this is how you can enrich it with the extra capabilities. But we also, what we offer, since this business development, joint business development happen, the startups actually can increase their investment attractiveness in front of VC funds, accelerators. And this is, I think, a very important thing. Again, I already mentioned we don't offer investments, but you see, as a result of collaboration between the corporate and the startup themselves can actually be like a honey place for investors to who will be definitely interested more on investing into the company in a small startup, but that is backed by the very supportive business partner. It's also important for Kaspersky because not only because the things I mentioned in the beginning, like we see the opportunity to collaborate with the startups, but also because this allows us, all these open innovation programs allows us to set up always on technological radar to seek for new opportunities, how to change our portfolio, how to enrich our portfolio, or what else our customers might need, and identify some early birds, I would say, on the new trends being set up. It also for us important that these kind of the open innovation programs allow you significantly reduce the time to market for the new solutions, because we are not replacing our products. This is important with the startups products, but we partner with them to identify which kind of the technologies may be adopted by our R&D people or the company itself to speed up the development of the new solutions. And for sure, the result of this collaboration is the commercial efficiency, so additional revenue streams, both for Kaspersky and the startups for sure. I think actually Denis already mentioned this in his presentation, and Sergey also a few times mentioned about the I would say the importance and the big potential of the Russian startup ecosystem. Take a look how many companies, worldwide known companies, originated in Russia. Even I couldn't, like not to add Kaspersky in the list as well, but lots of the companies, really well-known ones, efficient ones, profitable ones, were originated in Russia. Why? Because of the very big and huge technological and engineering background for all the innovators. If you look if you compare the startups in Russia and let's say in general beyond Russia, you will see the difference that Russian startups mainly speak about the technologies, they mainly speak about the product, and they not so much speak about how they can do business. This is like actually has its own pros and cons, but with the proper support by the reliable and supportive business partner, this lack of the business education and the business background actually can be enriched with the support of that corporation, for example, that partners with the startup, while the startup brings very extensive, very advanced technological skills in the projects. Also, I was actually personally happy to join all the Venture Russia reports that Dsight published, and actually the most recent one. And Sergey, I promise we definitely will be partner for the next and next ones. I see that the Russian innovation and the venture ecosystem, despite the fact that it's being, I would say, being run for the few years, is not that much advanced for sure, but we do have very strong support from the government level, and actually from I'm happy to see that the biggest corporates actually also actively invest into the startup ecosystem. For sure, we don't have that many M&As and actually big exits, because not that many companies available on the market to make this happen. Like we only have a few of them, like Yandex, Mail, previously Sber, as known as Sberbank in the past. But things are changing. The more corporates are involved in the development that domestic ecosystem, the faster we will be very, very much competitive in comparison to other markets. And I do believe that events like that, partnerships like what are happening right now, even through the Schneider Group, this is one of the very important steps to further drive this venture ecosystem, the collaboration with the startups, engagement of the corporates with the innovators, with the startups. So this will definitely will work for the better future of this market. I think the main part of the presentation is done. I do believe we have some questions, right?
Yes, Vitaly, thank you very much for your presentation. There is one more question. What about the small business in Russia? Is it developing? What is the role of bookkeepers in it? Do you think it will rise?
Well,
interesting question.
What a question. I do believe, and I would say not believe, I do see that in today's world, in 2020, that is not ended yet, but already brought a lot of the challenges. All companies suffer and will suffer until this coronavirus disaster, if I may, will end. Not only small businesses, but also lots of the corporates. Despite the fact that the government does support them, the significant, the great reduce on the I would say not customer demands, but the availability of the customers to purchase goods and products actually influences in a very negative way to the companies, not only SMB. But what I see also as an advantage, not a disadvantage of the current situation, is that the companies who understood that the digital transformation is the only chance to survive, and the companies who were able to transform during this very tough time, they will be able actually to drive their businesses on. Speaking about our own experience, for example, the Kaspersky was already set up for multiple years to work in the home office environment for all the employees. So for us, it was very funny stuff. But the only challenge we had, I was mentioning this recently in the Venture Russia event, the only challenge for us was to bring the chairs from the office to the home offices of our employees, because all the other infrastructure was already set up to allow for this remote work. So the future of both SMBs, and not only SMBs, but also enterprises, is a tough one. 2020 is not ended yet, but already a new wave of the challenges, a new wave of the coronavirus will definitely influence the execution capabilities. But those who survive, those are the companies who were able to successfully go through the digital transformation. They will have all the power in their hands to further develop the businesses.
Yeah, good. Thank you so much, Vitaly. Very insightful and great information from Kaspersky. And I also have one small questions. What do you plan next? Is there any super interesting project in the pipeline?
Well, yes, I think I can give some spoilers. Actually, not only one, but actually two spoilers.
Ooh.
First one is that, by developing, actually very extensively developing the experience of working with startups during last 2 years, we are actually launching the Open Innovation Service to support together with our business partners, to support other corporates to actually launch or initiate important processes for the to start the innovation, to start to innovate, to start to work with the startups. So what we offer through the Open Innovation Service is a support, how to scout, how to validate, how to review the startups. It's more as a exchange sharing with the companies who want to work in Russia, because we see that there are some, issues for the companies who come from the foreign markets into Russia to, properly engage with the startup ecosystem. This is the first spoiler. The second one is we are thinking about how we as a company can actually invest even more into further developing the startup ecosystem in Russia, and actually maybe beyond Russia as well. And we are thinking about the startup factory, like a true venture builder stuff that will allow us to build and create startups and hopefully maybe some unicorns in the future. So, and this is actually I think with these two spoilers, I would encourage the guests of today's event, all the people who joined this webinar, just think about starting doing the innovations, actually work with all these brilliant startups in Russia.
Great, thank you, Vitaly. And yeah, great idea about the venture builder. Thank you. Dear all, please welcome our last but not least great speaker. This is Kendrick White, founder and CEO of Marchment Capital Partners. Kendrick has more than 25 years of experience in Russia and some great insights from working with all players in the innovation ecosystem. Kendrick, please, it's your turn.
Great, excellent. Thank you very much, Sergey, Lars. It's a pleasure to be on your program this evening, and I'm really excited to be here and to share some of this experience. As you mentioned, I've been in Russia a very long time. I was involved going back to the early 90s in privatization. I ran one of the first VC funds in Russia, and for the last 15 years, I've been working with universities and working with very early stage technologies, and as an angel investor. So I think that I've developed a very unique kind of understanding and experience in technology scouting and working in this realm between universities and startup teams and R&D teams and industry. And I think that what I'd kind of like to focus on right now, and I'd like to take one step back, because we talked a lot with the last two speakers, Dennis and Vitaly, about the startups and those types of companies and that type of screening they're doing in corporate venture capital and so on. I want to step back and talk about how Russia has changed in the last 10 years and what it's gone through. Because to be perfectly honest, Russia has really dramatically modernized itself since the wild 90s and privatization and import substitution. And you know, in general, science has really changed over the last 100 years. And if you look at historically in Russia, universities were professors that could come up with new ideas, and Russia has this long history and of traditional science, and it's very strong. Looking at Mendeleev and looking at the Lomonosky, and you know, it has a great scientific history and record and culture. But in today's world, everything has moved on to collaboration, and for a long time, Russia didn't adapt and change. But what I want to talk about today is the fact that in the last 10 years, Russia has adopted a lot of the world's best practices, looking at legal structures going back to the United States 40 years ago, the Bayh-Dole Act, in how you treat IP and how you allow universities and professors and innovators to own the IP that they create in the university rather than giving it to the central government. Also looking at technology transfer, looking at proof of concept centers. So I want to say that 10 years ago, Russian universities were not prepared to work with corporations or companies except on a basis of national security, where maybe federal ministries would order universities to develop new ideas and then take those ideas and use them in industry. Today, it's a much more collaborative process. And you know, looking back at the history, just quickly, just as an overview, because I think it's important for Western companies in Europe and Asia and America to understand that this is a new process. And this started in 2007 with the development of infrastructure, technoparks, some kinds of accelerators. The Russian venture company launched. Many people know about the Skolkovo Foundation, which just launched 10 years ago. And so a lot of these initiatives have taken time to develop. But I really want to focus on the modernization of universities, which started in a large degree in 2012 with a program called the 5100 program. And then it was expanded in the University 3.0 program. And then in 2019, the national project. So there's been a lot of federal top-down initiatives which have gone into creating an infrastructure and to creating a national network of different innovation clusters, maybe in St. Petersburg, Moscow, Nizhny Novgorod, Ekaterinburg, Tomsk, Kazan. Today, there are numerous clusters focused on IT or other areas of science, chemistry, different parks, technoparks, venture capital funds. And so the environment today has really advanced and developed and is much more open to working with not only ministries in Moscow and not only government and grant financing, but working with private Russian enterprises and very interested today in working with international partners. And so I'd like to just speak a little bit about the city which I live in, which is actually not Moscow. So since 1992, I've been living here in Nizhny Novgorod. And you may or may not know that this was the center of the military industrial complex. 25 scientific R&D centers, 33 higher education institutes. This was the starting point for the reform program and privatization. And historically, this was considered the pocketbook of Russia, and versus the brains of Russia or the soul of Russia in Moscow. So Nizhny Novgorod, after World War II or during World War II, a lot of industry moved here and to get away from St. Petersburg and the front lines and Moscow. And this created a tradition of both scientific advancement among the universities and the Polytechnic and other physics institutes and so on, and also production, where you had the hydrogen bomb was invented here by Andrei Sakharov. And you had advanced scientific developments in physics, cybernetics, and so on. And a lot of that emanated from here to Nizhny. And with the reforms and privatization in the early 90s, a very significant IT cluster was formed here by the governor at that time. And so many companies have emerged out of Nizhny. And today we see thousands of students that have this historical perspective of science, mathematics, and fundamental, abilities in research, but also a more vibrant startup community. And part of my experience in Russia is based on my experience as a venture capitalist and an angel investor. I was invited to work with the university and develop a model prototype system for technology transfer and commercialization. And what I had understood in my investment work was that Russian universities were incapable of assessing the commercial value of their technologies which they invented. They simply didn't have a mechanism. They didn't have an MIT-style Dsight Center. They didn't have a team of business people that would work with the scientists and the students to understand what should be patented. They would simply develop their IP and transfer this to Moscow, and then perhaps they would look at creating a spin-out or a startup, but there wasn't enough understanding on how to position those startup companies so that they would be attractive to raise Russian angel investment funding or venture capital or work with corporations. So I created a technology commercialization center at Lobachevsky, which was a replica of MIT's Dsight Center. And this included proof of concept, focusing on translational research and creating startups. We had our own incubator. We were developing an accelerator. We created a lot of programs to work with the students and the professors. And I think fundamentally we understood that we had two cultures inside our community in the university. We had the gifted professors who grew up maybe in the Soviet Union, but they had unbelievably high levels of understanding in deep science. But at the same time, you have young innovation entrepreneurs and students who are dreaming of creating their own startups. And we tried to create a fertile ground where both cultures could coexist and thrive. And frankly, we did. We created over a 4-year period, 22 startups in biomedical devices. We literally ran hundreds of training programs and seminars every year. We worked in partnership with the Russian Venture Corporation, Virgin Connect, Intel Corporation, Bosch, and other Promsvaz Bank and other partners. And we created an environment which allowed us to create startups which were attractive for investors. And I think that actually became a model for all of Russia. The Ministry of Science and Education asked me to write a white paper about our experience and share that with other universities across the country. And part of that experience was creating an industry advisory board, which was my first real experience in taking deep tech technology and finding a home for that technology within corporations, and which has pretty much led to the kind of work that I'm doing today. Because I think that there are a lot of Russian innovation startup entrepreneurs, and they're able to get international venture capital funding. They're able to travel. They're able to go out into communities in the Silicon Valley or Israel or Singapore or others. But at the same time, there are a massive number of Russian scientists, young, maybe just married, maybe with young children, that want to stay in their cities. And maybe they're not really entrepreneurs, but they have unbelievably creative ideas. And so I think the real opportunity in Russia, beyond exactly just IT and startups, is in the deep sciences, in physics and chemistry and artificial intelligence and quantum analytics. And the key idea is, how do you bring together industry and industrial partners that need those technologies? They need competitive new advantages which they can use to get market share. And how do you bring that together? And we did that at Lobachevsky, and I think it has to become a model. In fact, just a couple of years ago, Moscow State University, together with Innopractica, created the National Association of Technology Transfer. And it has funding, it has backing, and it has backing from Russian industry. And I think that the idea there is to foster a platform where universities and professionals from universities and industry can speak together. They can meet together. They can collaborate. They can network. And I think this is really a very advanced stage, considering this process only started 10 years ago. And so this exists today. I'm the chairman of the International Relations Committee at the National Association of Technology Transfer. And from that vantage point, I've seen a number of interested international companies coming into Russia. And what they're looking at are a wide variety of deep tech specialties in clean tech, big data analytics, computer vision, hydrocarbon chemistry, and advanced engineering. And a lot of these early stage projects are still embedded within their local communities. They're not kind of sitting in the startup community in Moscow. They're sitting in Tomsk and Novosibirsk. But they're anxious, just as anxious as Moscow entrepreneurs, to find the right partners. And just to give you some best practices and examples, I mean, what I've seen and been excited by are retail data analytics. You know, how do you track customer satisfaction? What kind of big data analytics and artificial intelligence algorithms do you need to create in order for retail companies, for example, to assess these things using computer vision? The oil industry is very big in Russia, but it's also extremely important for energy companies to think, how can they improve their upstream processing using computer vision, developing AI and ML-based solutions. So machine learning, fault detection, identification of problems within pipelines using sensors and visual technologies. So there's a lot of areas where global energy companies really can use this knowledge from Russian universities. Optimization of supply chain management. I mean, new materials development. For example, I've seen that, you know, we understand that pharmaceuticals require a lot of wet laboratory work to determine new medicines. But using machine learning, using mimicking quantum analytics and predictability, you can begin to use mathematics to determine what the composition of new pharmaceutical components might be. At the same time, you can look at how to create new adhesives or new polycarbons or new plastics, which are biodegradable. And so the mechanisms to create new composite materials is a very strong capability in Russia. And I think that it's very important to say that the Russian programmers are very cost effective compared to trying to hire some programmers in Silicon Valley. And I think this is a reason why Russia can be very attractive for international partners to be looking for teams that can help them in this country. We work with companies, and I can say that technology scouting for deep tech is a very analytical process. You analyze a number of project teasers, you kind of put this into a format, and global corporations, you know, working in Russia, they approach this very analytically, and they've already been doing this many years in other countries. So global energy companies or global IT companies, they're doing technology scouting around the world, and they use methodologies. They look at short teasers, they look at short reports, they look at this and they try, as Dennis was pointing out, you build a pipeline, you build a funnel. And global corporations need to look all over the world. If you're in Germany, it's important to still look all over the world for new technologies, whether it's the United States or other European countries or Asia, also Russia. And this kind of process is absolutely open and normal. And what I want to emphasize is that Russian universities are used to this now. They're used to being able to present themselves, and they're looking for partners. And so you can also see that best practices for global companies are to look around the world and then package that material for their headquarter offices so that they can show that investing in Russia or investing in CIS countries or investing in China makes sense. And I think this is another practice that international corporations use in Russia to promote and to attract their internal customers, their internal buyers inside global corporations to identify and invest in projects in Russia. So I think that, you know, what I really want to kind of emphasize here is that Russia has a long history of science and technology development. It's well known. Mendeleev, Lomonosov, Lobachevsky, Sakharov. There was even a book by a Harvard professor, Lauren Graham, called Lonely Ideas, which basically talked about the fact that Russia has a history of creating some of the greatest scientific discoveries in the world, but it has failed to commercialize that. Very often scientists have had to leave Russia to commercialize their projects. What I want to say is that today they don't have to. More and more, it's attractive for Russian scientists to stay here, develop their companies. We have, as Vitaly was pointing out, we have a number of high-profile global companies led by charismatic leaders. You know, Yandex, Abby, Parallels, Kaspersky. These companies are global now. But at the same time, there's a wide range of scientists and innovation entrepreneurs around the country that also want to develop their businesses, but they're more tied to their hometown. They're tied to their local university cluster and community and their laboratories, but they're open for business. And so I think that this is brand new. This is something that did not exist 10 years ago. And for me, as an angel investor, I'm very excited by this. I mean, I'm seeing the cutting edge technologies every day. I'm working to help bring together these kinds of scientists and solve the most important and critical problems for global enterprises. And I think this is a cost-effective mechanism, and it's attractive, and the timing is right now. Russian universities are ready to work with partners. And so I'm ready to answer any questions on this presentation. I believe this is a tremendous opportunity. And for me, I've just invested this summer in a new AI company doing big data analytics with energy companies. And it's a very exciting time in spite of pandemics and having to work with Zoom, which actually I've come to really like. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you. And I would be delighted to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Impressive experience. What would you name as the competitive advantages of Russia in terms of technology and innovation?
I think mathematics is definitely an area where you have a lot of strength in mathematics, artificial intelligence, quantum analytics, big data analytics, the quantum computing center in Moscow. I mean, that's why I invested in an AI company this summer. I think that corporations hold huge amounts of data, but they don't know what to do with it. And I think the critical thing for corporations is to understand what they want to do with the data, and then work with the best team that can take that data and present it in a format acceptable for operators, human operators. Because if you're in a telecommunication, if you're in banking, if you're in energy, if you're in retail, you have a lot of data, but this data can be transformed into real decision-making. And it can really work to solve a lot of problems. So I've always loved biomedical devices. I mean, I specialized on that for 5 years at Lobachevsky. So I see a huge potential in that because it brings together sensors and sensor technology together with the analysis of the sensitive information collected, which again is a strength for Russian mathematicians.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
This sounds good. Good. Yeah. Kendrick, again, thank you so much for this incredibly interesting presentation. Out of the records, then I will ask you about the company you just invested in, maybe to get some inside recommendations as well. Good. Sergey, I think it's time already to come to some kind of a conclusion. We learned a lot of interesting facts and stories, and understand that the Russian startup market is very promising, easy to enter, and what we learned, very cheap. So what do you expect from the next years, taking into account that all the tax benefits Russia implements starting from 1st of January next year for the IT sector, and taking into account the new government program to making billion of dollars available to startups over the next year. What will be really, based on this government policy, what will be the future of the Russian startup market?
Great question, Lars. Please don't make any investment decisions based on my only on my opinion.
No, I will ask Kendrick. That's clear already.
Yes. Well, yes, we at Dsight we could try to predict few trends that will happen. First of all, I think we expect increase in number of startups, maybe 5-10% per year, and it happens already. Russian startups will be more active globally. Because they get inspired by such examples and such sound exits for startups like Veeam or Nginx, which were valued at billions of dollars and sold to large international investment funds or made public. We expect more friendly legislative and tax environment, as you mentioned, for tech companies, and less barriers starting already this year and continuing, because the government makes a big stake on the startups, on tech companies, because they see the good examples how the startups could boost the national economy, create new jobs, create more create more jobs that that bring more profits for one person working. And well, international investors, as I mentioned before, will slowly return to Russia because of the affordable valuations, and what Kendrick told us, very inspiring about the huge background of Russian engineers, which are also let's say many people who wanted to leave Russia, they did so during the last 10 or 15 years. The ones who stayed, they're ready to work, they're ready for challenges, for technical challenges, and again, they will be more cost effective than Silicon Valley or even Chinese engineers, because Chinese cost of labor is already higher than here in Russia. Those are the major forecasts I could do.
Yeah, but indeed, that's a very promising and a very positive scenario for the future. Okay, what do we plan next?
Okay, another forecast. The short term for this time, I think we will continue to do this webinars, this series, and we shall expect the next one within 1 month maybe. And now we're going to make them more specialized. I think we go deeper in such industries or sectors as industrial, automotive, cybersecurity, fintech, retail, logistics, property technology, the sectors which are now booming in terms of, as we research it in Venture Russia report, in terms of financing rounds. That means more very interesting startups arising in those sectors, and the corporates could definitely benefit from such startups. So we go sector by sector.
Okay, thank you, Sergey. Thank you to all our speakers, participants. Yeah, we see you then in 1 month. Have still a great day or evening. Bye-bye and see you soon then.
Yes, goodbye everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.